In this tutorial we're going to cover textures and lighting. First things first is we need a variable for our texture we're going to be using, and also in our vertex structure I removed the color and added normals and texture coordinates. Normals are vector 3, texture coordinates are vector 2. So with those changes down in our init function, we had to add an element and change the second element to float 3 and normals, and add a third element for float 2 for texture coordinates. Also add an init textures function, which is right here. It's very simple. Just opens a file stream for a picture and uses the texture loader to create the texture. Changes to the genMesh function. Remove the color setting code and added normal computing call here. So before I clone, I have the mesh go compute normals, and they get copied into my cube during the clone operation. Unfortunately, the DirectX meshes don't supply texture coordinates, so if you want them, you have to specify them. You can do that like we were doing color. I just didn't feel like it. I did specify texture coordinates though for the quad, and that's what they look like. Changes to the run function. Turned lighting to true, and set the render state ambient light to a dark slate gray. You can use any color here. Set the diffuse material source to 0. Create a new material. Set the ambient and diffuse color to white. This just means that the ambient and diffuse, setting the ambient and diffuse materials to white means that it'll pick up any color of light. If you want to only pick up green lights, you can set green. Then we set the device's material to the material we just created. We go out to the device and get the first light. Set its type to directional, set its color to red, and enable it. Down in the begin scene function, we set the first light's direction to a direction based on the time value, and then update it. And before I draw the quad here, I set the texture with a call to set texture, and afterward set it to nothing so that the other 3 meshes are not drawn with a texture because they don't have texture coordinates. So I'll go ahead and run this. So as you can see, we have meshes here with the light circling around them that's red, and a quad with a texture on it. You can have more than one light. The number of lights is hardware dependent, so you can just check the lights collection here for a size and it'll tell you how many there are. So I'll enable this other light, which is green, and it'll circle over the top. And on texture coordinates, the texture is stretched between 0 and 1, so if I change these to a 2, I should get 2 copies of the texture in each direction, which will give me 4. So this would be 0, 0, this would be 0, 2, 2, 2, 2, 0. So 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 are in the corners. That's how texture coordinates work. I think that'll about cover it. I'll talk to you later.